Hello, it's Mr. Thompson here again, and I'm going to talk you through how to round to significant figures. This is grade C at GCSE or level 7 at Key Stage 3. So the first thing we need to do is to understand what exactly is meant by a significant figure. So up here I've got a number 4,385. Now, the first significant figure is the first digit that is not a 0, reading from the left. So we're looking for the first digit that is not the 0 reading from the left, and it will have obviously a higher value than the other digits to the right of it. So here, our first most significant figure here is the 4. That represents the number of thousands. So that is our first most significant figure. The second most significant figure, reading from left to right, is our 3, and that represents 300s. 8 is our third, which represents 8 lots of 10, which is 80. And finally the 5 represents 5 units, and that's our fourth most significant figure. So reading from the left to right, the first non-zero digit is a 4, and so on. So this number actually has 4,385 has 4 significant figures. This is the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. Okay, let's look at one other example before we move on to actually rounding. So I'm going to give you the number 0 point, sometimes they will have decimals in there, 0, 1, 4. Now, remember I said we're looking for the first digit from the reading from left to right that is not 0. So in this example, the first 0, this one here, is not significant, as it's reading from left to right, it is a 0. We're looking for the first non-zero digit. The second 0 there is not significant. This is our first non-zero digit, our 0.01, which represents the number of 100ths. Our 4 is our second most significant figure, and that represents, that's 1, that's 2, and the 4 represents the number of thousandths. So this number actually has 2 significant figures. Okay, let's look at an example of rounding. Okay, so here's our question. We have been asked to round 5.49 to one significant figure. Now that means in our answer we will have one significant figure. So just as we did with our decimals, the first thing I'm going to do is write out 5.49. Now we need to determine which is our first most significant figure. So reading from the left to right, we're looking for our first non-zero digit. So the 5 here has the highest value, that represents 5 lots of 1 or 5 units. That is our most significant figure. So what I'm going to do, just the same as I did with my when we're rounding to decimals, after that I'm going to put a line down. Now, we're going to look at the digit immediately after the line. So this one here is a 4. Looking over here, you can see our 4 in this table that we need to memorize. Our 4 tells us that we need to round down. So this to the nearest one significant figure would just be 5. Okay, let's look at one more. Okay, so the second example here is asking us to round 0.045732 to two significant figures. So as before, I'm just going to write out 0.045732. Okay, so we need to determine, reading from left to right, what is our first most significant figure, and we're going to start counting from there. So our first non-zero digit, this is not a significant figure, this is not a significant figure. Our 4 here, obviously representing the number of 100ths, is our first most significant figure. It's the first non-zero digit that has the highest value. So we're going to start counting from here. This is our first most significant, and the 5 here is our second most significant. So after that, we are now going to do just the same as we've done before, a line down there. And we're going to look at the 7, which tells us from this table here that we need to round this digit up. So this answer here becomes 0.046. And you can see our answer has, as asked in the question, two significant figures. It doesn't matter about any other numbers that come after the 7. These could go on and on and on. We're only interested, if we're looking to round to two significant figures, we're only interested in looking at the third significant figure to make the decision as to whether or not this 5 goes up or stays as it is. Okay, one final example. And with this final example, it's asking us to round 26,814 to two significant figures. Now, this is where there is an additional step, and hopefully that will become apparent very shortly. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as always, I'm going to write 26,814. Now we're being asked, this is 26,000, we're being asked to round this to two significant figures. So, starting from the left, counting from our first non-zero digit, the 2 is our first most significant, the 6 is our second. So what I'm going to do now is put my line down there. Okay, so we're going to look at the 8, and that 8 tells us that this 6 should be rounded up to a 7. So we're going to put 2 and then a 7. Now because this is not a decimal, our decimal point would go here. Notice I always line up my decimal points. Now to round to three significant figures, what we need to do is anything to the left of the decimal place that after we've rounded, those three spaces now need to be filled with zeros, because after we've rounded this 26,814 to the nearest two significant figures, the 7 would represent the number of thousands. So what we need to do is up to the decimal point, we need to fill in the zeros. So this 26,814 to the nearest two significant figures, we must remember that we need to fill in any of them, any missing digits up to the decimal point with zeros. So that becomes 27,000. Okay, that was level 7 work on rounding to significant figures. If you need help with any of the areas of your maths, have a look on my YouTube channel and see if you can find anything there to help you. Until next time, bye bye.